call to order the February 13th Westfield Washington School Board meeting. It appears that we have a quorum present. I'd like to welcome the public. It's great to have lots of people here. I really appreciate the attendance. We'll start with a moment of silence and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda we have the superintendent's report. Great.
Okay, so our presentation this evening is from Westfield Intermediate School, and I would like to introduce Mrs. Patchett, and she's got a team here this evening for their presentation.
It's good. They are actually going to introduce themselves as they present this evening. But before we get started, there's just a little bit I'd like to say. Last year, WIS highlighted everything going on in the building. This year we decided to focus on an incredible team that we have in the building. And I'm going to do this without crying. They're amazing. I mean, they are simply amazing. Just to give you some numbers, our special ed team here, in 5th grade alone, we have 104 kids with IEPs. In 6th grade alone, we have 101 students with IEPs. 205 total in our building. And that includes special ed, that includes our speech kids as well. Then we're looking at our ELL students. In 5th grade, we have 14, in 6th grade, 10. So we have 24 students with our ILPs that we're servicing. Teachers, we have 13 teachers in our resource department. We have 27 instructional assistants in our resource department and 5 unfilled spots at this time. Top. It's a busy place. It's a busy place. My 3rd year. This is the 2nd year this team has been under new department leadership, and the transformation has been miraculous. And what they are doing for students is amazing. They are going to highlight the individual programs, what they have going on, what they're doing for instructional assistants, and what they're doing for our students. So I'm going to turn it over to their department lead, Steve Stafford, and we're going to get started.
Thank you, Annette. I'm Steve Stafford. I'm a 6th grade teacher at Intermediate School and serve as a team lead on the Collaborative Strategist team. What I'm going to do is share some background from the last 2 years, kind of set the stage for what my teammates will talk about. So first off, on behalf of us, we would like to thank you for this opportunity to share how we're serving students, connecting with parents, and coordinating with our admin team. In August 2016, we started the school year with an identity crisis. We were known as the Special Education Department, the SPED team, the resource team, resource teachers, and a pull-out program. Each of these conveyed an impression we were special or used as a resource only if needed, and we were doing something completely different with students, pulling them to a different area. At the same time, Annette shared the expectation that students were to be served and supported in their general curriculum classrooms. Her expectations for supporting students created a shift in our mindset and further complicated our identity crisis. How could we support students in classrooms throughout the school with an identity that communicated special or separate or pull out? In September 2016, we began our quest to find who we are, what we do, how we do it, and what makes our team unique. Our team consisted of 9 teachers at the time. 4 of them were new to the intermediate school, and 1 new program, the Mosaic program, and 1 speech language pathologist. Our initial task was identifying team priorities. What were the areas vital to our team? We identified communication, professional development, assessment, IEP, and team administration as priorities. And then individual tasks were identified for each priority. And our priorities created a structure for shared responsibility. Team members serve as priority leaders on our team with responsibility for reporting out their priority area at our bi-weekly meetings. The shared responsibility also contributed to creating and sustaining our team synergy. So working together as a team answered the who we are identity question. Our next task was figuring out what we do. So how would we support students that communicate with teachers, parents, and administrators? No longer were we a separate program or a separate place. We were engaging students in classrooms throughout the intermediate school. We embraced this new paradigm and set a course for becoming a leadership team at the intermediate school. We identified collaboration as the essence of our identity. Several examples of our collaboration are shown on the slide. Providing strategies to support students academically, socially, and emotionally is at the core of our collaboration. We champion social and emotional learning because it emphasizes the foundation of our interactions with all students. In May of 2017, we had answered the who we are and what we do questions. At the end of the school year, we shared our team's accomplishments, and there were many, with our admin team. The following month in June, we started the quest to define how we do it and what makes us unique. When we convened in June, our team had grown by 1 teacher. We were up to 10, and of the 10, there were 4 new teachers again because of staffing changes and new teachers coming on board. And we had a new program, the CrossCap program. We drafted an orientation manual to assist onboarding our new teachers. We each committed to supporting them on one-on-one mentoring opportunities throughout the year. We updated our priorities to include curriculum so we could maintain connection with our department chairs and our instructional coach. And we also added instructional strategist PD as a priority to provide engaging support to the many strategists on our team. Next, we addressed how we do it. So our team supports students in 90% of the intermediate school. This percentage represents 36 general curriculum classrooms and 12 related arts classrooms. We support students in these rooms every day. We share our collective observations, experiences, and strategies to refine best practices and create materials to support students. During our meeting in June, we identified 3 strategic ways we impact learning environments and created the tagline, innovate, assimilate, evaluate. Innovate. We provide innovative ideas for promoting student engagement in academic, social, and emotional learning. Our strategies are assimilated into the general classrooms that I just mentioned, and they benefit many students as well as teachers. Evaluate. We continuously monitor for success. So we are the collaborative strategist team. We innovate, assimilate, and evaluate. When the district's new mission and vision statement were released in August, we were pleased to see that our team is aligned with the district's mission to provide rigorous and engaging experiences to prepare all children socially, emotionally, and academically for their future, as well as our district's vision to be an exemplary learning organization focused on collaboration, innovation, and continuous growth for all. Some of our team leads will share with you this evening some of our unique activities. Michelle Foster is going to start by telling you our work with instructional strategists. Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Foster, and I've been a part of the special education team at Westfield Intermediate School for the past 14 years, and have been in education for 26 years. I'd like to say that I could do this job independently, but as a resource teacher, we know that that is not possible. We obviously need a team of people around us, which we call instructional assistants. We have changed the name to instructional strategists, but I would kind of like to call them angels at times. Our CST team has chosen to provide resources to our strategists so they have the tools they need with their journey with children. We have created this 80-page manual, which we would like to just present to you because we're awfully proud of what we've done. And in this manual, it gives 11 descriptions of the different exceptionality groups. You just turn to the front tab if you want to. And it also gives general characteristics to assist each of those 11 exceptionality groups. The manual also addresses understanding behaviors. It addresses executive functioning and general applications for students in the classroom. The manual ends with a section about the roles and the responsibilities of a strategist. So. And then also, we have equipped our strategists by offering them after-school training opportunities each trimester. So for first trimester, in our training, we focus on data collection, communicating with the teachers, anecdotal note-taking, entering the classroom, and also reviewing IEPs. Second trimester, it's all about student behaviors, and that's enough. Third trimester, we focus on our after-school training, IEP minutes, small group instruction, and providing accommodations and modifications in the classroom. Our CST team is also currently in the process of working with administrators to evaluate and assess job performance of our strategists. Our goal is to provide effective feedback and constructive criticism so everyone on the team can be the best they can be. Whenever we can, we also like to celebrate our angels. And in May each year, we have an instructional strategist breakfast, and we try to spoil them absolutely rotten. We feel the additional work that is put into our instructional strategists pays off in great dividends with both parents and with students and teachers. Thank you for your time.
I'm Ella Trice, I'm one of the fifth grade CST members. And we had an interesting kind of analogy when we first started this whole process of identifying who we were. We kind of had the big cruise ship that was WIS, and we were the little tugboat kind of floating behind. And we realized that as our district continues to grow, as our building population continues to explode, we can't be the tugboat being pulled behind anymore. We've got to get on board. We've got to be a proactive piece of what's happening at WIS. And again, working with almost about 50 teachers in the building. So we have a very unique perspective of what's going on in our building because we are in so many different classrooms. So our team, we have a curriculum coordinator, and they work with Amber, our building coach, working on best practices, interventions, and assessments of students. We also have every single CST member is a part of a Gen Ed core curriculum team. So there is someone representing our team at every single PD, planning meeting, all of those meetings that our language arts, our science and social studies teams are hosting. Because we want to make sure we're an active role in decision making in those programs and that we are constantly and continuously up to date on what's happening with those programs. We connect with related art staff. That was an area that after year one of this process, we realized we had a little bit of a deficit and weakness. So we made an effort to really connect with our related art staff to increase student support, streamline the communication process from related art staff to the people supporting, and provide that necessary IEP information in a more clear and concise way because we are working with such a large group of students. These connections continue to allow us to use modern research-based interventions to support grade level learning and foundational building blocks during our student resource time. Because we want what we do during that SRT time to connect with what's happening in the classrooms as much as possible. With alignment, our building is a transition. You're going to give us one word to describe WIS. We are a transition. We have 6 elementaries funneling into our building. We've got them for 2 short years, and then we send them back out again to the middle school. So we realized that we needed to shore up what that process looked like. So as our student population grows, planning for incoming student placement to ensure that student needs are being met becomes an increasingly daunting task every year. As programs within our building began to undergo changes in growth, we realized first that we needed to connect with those 4th grade teachers. Our 6 elementaries have a lot of similarities, but also have a lot of diversities, and we were realizing that we needed to connect with that 4th grade staff in a meaningful way in order to prepare the paperwork for IEPs and those students for what that transition would look like. So we started a 4th grade breakfast where all of our 4th grade resource teachers in the district are invited to come, meet with us, hear about our programs here at the intermediate school, hear about services and how we write goals here, so that we can kind of streamline what that process looks like for those 4th graders transitioning over. In the spring, we meet with every 4th grade teacher again and discuss specific student profiles of who's coming over, so we have a good gauge of the student group population that's coming in the following school school year. And we realized this 4th grade transition process has been in the works for a few years, and we had the aha of this needs to be happening from 5th to 6th and 6th to 7th as well. So in the last year, we also started to have a PD as a team where we met together between 5th and 6th and went through the same process together where we talked about these are our students transitioning to 6th grade. We created profiles and portfolios on each student to present to the teachers. And we also had an ice cream social so that those 5th graders got to meet the 6th grade CST team moving forward so that it was a familiar face on day 1 when we started the school year. Documents that we've included in that transition, we have parent input forms, so we're starting to hear from our 4th grade parents before 4th grade year has even finished. Again, the student profiles, the service recommendations, the goal writing bank, and we've created a folder in Google Docs in the Drive that we've shared with all of the elementary teachers with our team and moving forward to the middle school so that we have that consistent alignment for each transition piece.
Really touched on a lot of my stuff. My name is Megan Clark. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the professional development that not only we get to attend, but we also provide for ourselves. At our monthly team meetings, we kind of take turns providing professional development on things that we find important, like IEP trainings. This year, a lot of changes were happening in the IEP system. We've had new team members who maybe aren't as familiar with it. So doing some IEP training was very important to us this year. Also, the instructional assistant training that went very well this year as well. And Michelle touched on that already. In addition to that, we have the autism training. Gwen Wells came in, she was able to do some classroom observations and then provide feedback to not only our team, but for the whole school afterwards. We are all a part of other teams as well. We are part of the data team, the strategic planning team, and then like Emily said already, that we go to all of the gen ed teachers, professional developments, and curriculum developments as well. Some of the district initiatives that our team's involved in are the MTSS, the SEL team, and the Westfield Autism team. The members of those teams go to those meetings and then they bring those back to us and share out. And that's kind of how we, stay up to date and stay involved in the district initiatives as well. We are also very lucky to have been provided opportunities to do a lot of the outside professional development. We've written grants. Some people have done it just on their own. And then the school has given us opportunities to see Ross Green, go to the neuroscience and education, Derek Peterson, Power 5, Orton Gillingham, and then I know Emily's looking forward to going to the national conference for integrating technology in the classroom. So we are very lucky to have been able to have all these great experiences, and without it, we wouldn't really be where we are now. And we are continuing to grow, seeking out more professional development, and just getting better at what we do. And with that, we integrate it into our classroom, and Laura is going to share some ways that we do that.
So I'm Laura Omerger. I work with both 5th and 6th graders in our Mosaics program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what each of those programs look like. We've kind of heard what does our team do in general, so here's the specifics. This is what we do day in and day out. And then ways that we've been able to collaborate to help grow and strengthen our programs, and also ways that we're trying to promote inclusion, because that's our big, it's a big focus. We want students in with their general education population, in with those peers and having those experiences. So how do we do that with those students who are in self-contained programs? What does that look like for them? So just to kind of run through our programs, the big push was inclusion. So kind of got the change of we're not doing pull-out services, we're doing push-in. So that's a majority of our team members spend the majority of their day in and out of classrooms supporting students in that natural environment, in the general education classroom. That's why we need so many instructional strategists as well, because there's not enough of us to go around. So we need the whole team to be able to be in all of those classrooms. Like we mentioned before, I think Annette mentioned the numbers for our ESL programs, our English as a second language. Andrea's rock star. I don't know if she, just to give her a little bit of credit, she and her team serve a lot of students, and they do that phenomenally. So that is one of our programs that's also integrated into the collaborative commonly called. Those are our students who have cognitive needs. They're split up into two classrooms, so we have one that focuses more on cognitive needs and one that's more specific for autism-related students who need that more structured, independent, individualized curriculum. So those are some of our students in there. And like I mentioned, I'm the mosaics teacher, so that's kind of where I fall for most of the day. These are our students who have emotional and behavioral needs that are currently preventing them from being integrated into the general education classroom. So they're in the mosaics classroom, working on some of those skills with the goal to be able to reintegrate at a later time. So that's kind of what each of our programs look like. We've been able to strengthen those programs with some collaboration from some outside resources. We've made 2 separate visits to Avon Intermediate School. So both of our FAP teachers were able to visit to look at what their programs look like there. They used the TEACH model there, so that was really helpful for structuring a classroom to serve students with autism. And so they were able to take a lot of that information back and integrate that into their classrooms. There was a big transformation down in how they structured the classroom, what the space looks like, what the visuals provided looked like. So that was a really beneficial experience for them. I also traveled to Avon to look at their intermediate school, what their self-contained ED program looks like there. So I went with some of our admin team and our behavior specialist, Carol Kramer from the district, and we went and we consulted with the teachers. We were able to get some ideas on like space management and what their crisis plans look like and how do they respond to certain situations. And then that helped us reflect on, well, how do we respond in those same situations? Are we consistent in what that looks like? And we were able to take that and share that at one of our meetings and kind of look at our crisis plan and see where could we be more consistent and how could we better develop our own plan. So those are some really great outside experiences that have helped us grow and strengthen our program. As mentioned, I think Megan mentioned that we had Gwen Wills come. She's awesome. She has a lot of experience working with students with communication needs, including students on the autism spectrum. So she was really able to help give a lot of advice on working with students, because as we know, just the numbers of students with autism continues to grow each year. So that's really been something that, how do we help them in the self-contained classroom in the FAP, but also how do we help them out in the general education classroom? So she was able to really give a lot of help and be able to help us develop as we continue to work with students on the autism spectrum. And then just some opportunities for inclusion. We always, we want students to be out with their general education peers as much as possible. So one really cool initiative that our FAP teachers started this year was the Friendship Club. So what they do is it's a weekly meeting between some general education students and the students who are in our FAP programs. So they had an interview process, an application process, matched up students so they each have a buddy. They do different activities that help practice social skills in that genuine setting, so they can go around and interact in different various settings throughout the school and get that positive peer interaction, that positive peer role model. So that's a super cool opportunity, and I know the students have really benefited from that. Along with that, we, in the Mosaics program, actually just started a mentors program with the high school. So with Westfield High School, there are 3 high school students that are coming over twice a month into my classroom, and it's kind of the same idea as the Friendship Club, is that we want positive peer interactions, positive peer role models, and so the high schoolers come over and we have some planned, structured activities that they do. Sometimes it's working on academic things, sometimes it's doing more fun things. The students have really enjoyed doing that. We had our first meeting last Friday and they loved it. It was a lot of fun. So those have been cool ways to kind of help integrate our students not only into our school community, but also just in the Westfield community in general. Exploration Lab and Genius Hour, those are also 2 great programs that have helped us be able to integrate our students into the general Westfield community. Those are extension programs in our science and social studies. So Exploration Lab is kind of like a hands-on science activity. Jan Brill teaches it and does an amazing job. It's super, super cool. So students are able to go usually like once a week to one of the 2, and it's about a 45-minute time. They're in with their general education peers. They go typically with support, but they're able to interact in those groups. It's a collaborative setting, and it's kind of a nice way to get their foot, get a little bit of taste of what is it like to be in inclusion and to be able to get that exposure. And then just some other general school community involvement opportunities. Our FAP teachers have been working with our maintenance and our custodial staff to be able to find some opportunities to teach life skills and vocational skills, different cleaning opportunities, helping up in the cafeteria when appropriate. They deliver notes to nutrition clubs, so that's a way to practice that interaction with the staff. So, hi, I have this for you, and doing that exchange and practicing those communication skills in a genuine setting. I think I had one more. Oh yeah, we go on field trips as well, and any special events that are here, so the self-contained students, those are opportunities for them to be able to go. I know I've gone on at least 2 field trips this year. We go with our students' tryouts, so even the students in the self-contained classrooms are associated with one of our general education tryouts. So any special events or field trips that they attend, we go to, and that's been a lot of fun. So it's been really nice as our programs keep growing, and as we keep finding that, we have all these different students with all these different needs, and it's kind of a puzzle. Where do they fit, and how do we best help them? We just keep growing and developing and finding new ways that we can serve our students the best. So Steve's gonna wrap us up, and I think that's it for us.
Thank you, Lauren. So that's us. We appreciate the opportunity to share with us, or with you tonight on our collaborative strategist team. I'll close by referring to the quote on the board. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. That's the way our team rolls. I think you get the picture. We invite you to come and see us anytime, and come and attend one of our meetings. We meet twice a month, or come to an instructional strategist training that we've been on. You're welcome anytime. And I must say, kudos to our admin team, because without their unyielding support, we wouldn't be where we are. You can see the dynamics that we have as a team. It's really strong, but we have an excellent relationship with our admin team that makes this all possible. So, on behalf of the team, say bye.
We had 3 additional strategists here that didn't present. I think we probably should. So Andrea Eisnagel, it's 4. Stacy Kelly, Becky Littrell, and Emma Johnson. So I just wanted to make sure they were
I just want to say a quick thank you to the team too, because how amazing the work that you've done to be so strategic about establishing your goals that align with your school's goals and then also the district goals. And when we talk about meeting the needs of the whole child, that's just what you do every single day. So thank you. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for being here tonight to share that with our board.
Yes, thank you. So I have a reputation of reading everything and that you give us. So is it okay if I keep this manual and read it? And believe me, my fellow board members will make fun of me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, did you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have our consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion about the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we have personnel.
Here I am.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. You'll see the updates, a few updates from the last couple days in red. Do want to make note of 2 retirements. I want to say best of wishes to Kathy Pickering, intermediate school art teacher who's retiring at the end of the school year after 15 years with us and then multiple years in education. But we thank Kathy for all of her years of service, and she'll be missed here at the intermediate school. And then Nick Verhoff is retiring at the end of June, and he has been with our district for over 20 years. So we appreciate Nick's been in various roles, including special education teacher, special education director, business and operations, and now with transportation. So we appreciate Nick's contributions to the district as well. With that, you'll also see an attachment for our bus drivers to receive their well-due increases. They will each receive a $2 increase for the daily rate for those drivers for this school year. So after reviewing the updated changes, any questions, I ask that you approve personnel as listed this evening.
And just to clarify, the transportation agreement it's all part of personnel, correct?
All part of personnel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not only that, the salary information, and then the other transportation individuals such as the mechanics and those people are all, yeah, it's all included as part of personnel.
Part of the same thing, okay. Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve personnel as listed.
Okay, moved by Mary, a second.
Second.
Seconded by Amber. Is there any discussion? I think it has been challenging to try and figure out something for the bus drivers for sure, and I wanted to make sure we recognize administration for figuring that out. I know that was important, and I know it's meaningful, so thank you.
And we appreciate the patience of the bus drivers too as we've gone through the process, but thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have Chris with, it looks like there's a few policies.
We have some policies. So the first ones that we have here, we have the second reading in old business. So we have, these were brought to you last month for a first reading. And just asking for those that have been updated, they're listed first, and then the rescinded policies. As I've stated before, we're going through the process of policies. Just because we're rescinding it, says student handbook, doesn't mean we're not gonna have a student handbook. That means you don't have to have a policy saying you're gonna have a student handbook. It's a little redundant, so we have a student handbook. So again, just ask that you approve or accept and rescind policies presented with any questions this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept and rescind the policies as presented.
Okay, moved by Amy, and a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lutz. Is there any other discussion on our policies under old business? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Under new business, we have additional policies.
Yes.
I'm assuming these are the first reading.
Right, as you know, we've a lot of times brought the second reading, and then go ahead and present the first reading to be reviewed as after the approval of that. So just another set of policies. Jill's worked tirelessly on these policies already and really learning all those policies. And what's been great about this process too, as we've talked, we've realized which ones that we really need to make sure our employees are educated on as well. So by going through this, it's allowed us to get into the real details of the policy and make sure it's been reviewed by several people in the district. So it's just a good time to have a review of all these policies. But this is just the first reading of these, and no actions needed this evening. So between now and the next meeting, please let me know if you have any concerns or questions about these policies.
Okay. Thank you. It's nice to know that there are other people like Jill that have to read through all the
Yes.
policies as well. All right, so any questions about the first reading of the policies listed, please get those to Chris. All right, next we have agenda item, moving graduation date. Dr. Gray?
Sure. So originally, the 2018 graduation date was set for Thursday, May 24th, 2018, which was actually supposed to be the last day of school, which has also been past precedent for how we have done our school calendars. Unfortunately, due to some inclement weather that we've had this winter, we've had to use our flex days, and we've had to extend the school year. In fact, if we would happen to miss any additional days, we will have to then extend the school year additional time. So as I mentioned, it had been past precedent for us to do our graduation ceremony on the last day of school. We have had flex days, a couple of flex days built into the calendar, and actually, a few years ago when Indiana got slammed, schools were even allowed to add minutes on at the end of the day, or they were even able to go on Saturday, but those were all plans approved and offered by the DOE. So we're really not eligible for that. And unfortunately, what that would also do is extend teacher contract time and days, and we're not in a position to make that financial commitment. And so what I would like to recommend as we consider establishing the graduation date for the future is first of all, I would recommend that we at least plan some buffer time in between the last day of school and then that final date for graduation. Also, another option, there were a lot of great ideas that were thrown out, and unfortunately, for example, e-learning is a great idea. Right now, we don't have an approved e-learning plan with the Department of Ed. That is something that we are in preparation or preparing for and hoping to be able to have in place for next year. And so, knowing all of these different circumstances, unfortunately, we are not, I would recommend that we're not going to be able to have our graduation day. In fact, because we've had to extend the school year. So I'm recommending that we move the graduation date to Thursday, May 31st at 7 p.m. What that also allows us to do is for us to guarantee that our students have attended the 180 days that we have to ratify with the Department of Education, and they can pass their exams.
Okay, thank you. I know that we have several interested audience members, and in the interest of transparency and making sure that everyone is heard, I was, without objection, gonna insert a little space for public comment.
Sure.
Before we get to public comment, it's just a reminder that this is a meeting that happens in public and not necessarily a public hearing. So the way that it works is we absolutely want to hear from parents, interested citizens, all those that are interested in coming and saying anything. Hopefully it's nice to the board. And that is so that we can make an educated decision and that everyone has a chance to be heard. But it's not necessarily an opportunity to engage with the board. With that in mind, and then the only other thing is we ask that if anyone is interested in speaking, that they fill out a white card. And that is just so that if you say something and we have questions afterwards, we can contact you and say, hey, what exactly did you mean by that? So that's the only reason we collect that information. So without objection, is there anyone interested in giving comment on the change to the graduation date? Yes, Sandy.
I'm Sandy Martin, obviously I'm a senior. You guys have all heard from me, so you have my contact information already. I just wanted to just say that I feel like this is such a last minute decision. I'm so grateful and appreciative of the fact they are proactively thinking about this in the future. Westfield Schools is near and dear to my heart. I am one of the biggest cheerleaders of this place. I love where I teach. I love being a parent of a kid who's getting a fantastic education here. I'm so proud. And I'm always bragging on our district. I have lots of friends that teach in many other places, and they're not nearly as lucky as I feel like I am. And so just having said that, please know that it's just something I feel like Westfield has always been proactive in their thought processes. It's one of the things that I champion when I go out to, talk about our district all the time. Things are really taken into consideration. Things are thoughtfully considered. And I feel like decisions are usually made in the best interest of the public. And so just know that I'm grateful that you're thinking about that as a sophomore too. So I'll be glad to have you back in 2 years. But I just feel like this is, it doesn't seem last minute, I'm sure, if you are not involved in the process, but it is extremely last minute for those of us who have seniors. We've been thinking about this for a long time. My kid has been, when I came to Westfield, he was starting first grade, and now he's graduating and going to Purdue, so super excited about that. But I just feel like my family has tickets already. They're flying home back to Portland, Oregon on this new date. And so change fees for flights are extremely expensive. We've already reserved and paid deposits for open house places. Things have been planned already around this. And so I understand the flex days, and I understand that we have difficulty with that thanks to this weather in Indiana, but at the same time, I just wonder if there are creative solutions that we might be able to consider as far as maybe not moving it an entire week, but maybe just moving it a few days. Things like that make all the difference in the world. I know there are kids who have senior trips planned. They're leaving right after school. They won't be here in town to walk anymore. I just feel like there are some options that we maybe can hopefully explore you to consider so that we can at least take some into consideration so that we're not putting other people out. There are lots of ways. I know that, in Noblesville there was a Saturday school for seniors for kids to make things up. I think that maybe we don't give them their diplomas until they come back if they have to come back on a Monday. I just feel like there are lots of options that we might be able to consider without it just waiting an entire week. I just feel like that's such a long time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd be interested in speaking to the graduation day?
I just agree with everything she said.
Okay, couple of agreements, thank you, and thank you, Sandy. Okay, then we will close the public comment period, and we can take discussion now, or I'll entertain a motion, then we can discuss it when the motion's on the table.
I was gonna discuss first.
Okay.
Or I'll go first.
Sure.
You know, in preparation for this meeting, and as this particular topic has blossomed into what it has become with the weather and so forth, I tried to think back to when we first contemplated and considered the calendar, school calendar for this year we're currently in. And while I don't remember, you know, specifically what the start day was, or why there were 2 flex days versus 3 flex days, I do specifically remember that we talked and had some hand-wringing about graduation commencement falling on the last day of school. Whether that was because you have this tingling sensation that perhaps the weather could blow up and cause a problem, whether it was because we just wondered what the urgency was to get it out on the last day. I don't specifically remember that. I just remember that we kind of questioned that at the time. Ultimately, I think we wrapped ourselves in the blanket of that's how we've always done it. For whatever reason, it's worked in the past. We didn't have a good reason not to change at that time. And I think this year certainly will teach a lesson, and perhaps a painful one. And sometimes those painful lessons are the ones you remember the most. I'm certain that as we move forward, and specifically, you know, as we've set the calendar for future years, we have not set the graduation date for just that very reason, to see how this was going to play out. And unfortunately, this is how it's played out. You know, so I won't speak for the entire board, but I'll look back on that time and figure that I made a mistake, and I shouldn't have supported that date, but I did. And with all appreciation for Sandy this evening and others who have submitted emails and conversations through neighbors and parents and spouses at sporting events and so forth, you know, I appreciate this is not an easy topic for anybody. And the only unanimous item I've been able to glean from this is it doesn't matter what decision is made tonight, somebody's not going to be very happy. Considering, in my mind, the options that have been submitted to me through emails and thoughts, I think we have tried to give due reflection and thought to what each or any combination of those items might do and how those might best suit the seniors this year and their families. And after doing all that, I am of the conclusion that the recommendation of the administration is what I support. And so I'm going to make a motion to change the graduation date to May 31st.
Okay. Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Additional discussion.
I think the hard part is that it's the Memorial Day weekend as well, which that just has complicated it. You know, there was such a push to have school ended by Memorial Day. And that, and plus, you know, that gives us now just 2 days of a grace period if there's more weather coming in, because school's Memorial Day. Then that would be Tuesday, Wednesday. That I think trying to move it up too much, you know, would we be in the same position again, you know, if there's additional weather considerations?
So I can tell you, I mean, I feel like a broken record sometimes, but I agree with Dwayne, because I know that when we went through this and we looked at the calendar, those were questions that we asked. And honestly, I think the hard part is I feel like I made a mistake with, you know, not maybe going with my gut as much as I should, or, you know, it's easy to look back and say, hey, we should have done something differently. But I can tell you, for me, I am definitely not insulated from Facebook and stuff, even though I don't comment. It's one of my rules. I don't comment on social media. I do read everything, and I do see it all. I read every email that I get sent, and so I know this is something that people are passionate about. And because we're involved and we're in the community, it's hard not to hear the conversations and listen to people. And the thing that I know I can only speak for myself, but Sandy, when your sophomore is a senior, I'm not. And if I'm still here, I don't think this is something that will be an issue. So I feel comfortable that I feel like we've gone through and vetted all the stuff. And I also agree with Dwayne that there's going to be folks that are unhappy either way. So, are there other thoughts, discussion?
I mean, should we touch on the fact, some of the comments were, remove the day before spring break. That's kind of more disruptive to the whole district. And so we can't do those types of things just to your emails. I don't know who all in the audience has actually sent emails, but that was a suggestion, and that was really wild on social media, but it's just not something that we can do. So, and then the Saturday with someone commented about bringing in parents to teach life skills, those are just things that we just can't do. Unfortunately, I mean, they're great ideas, but they're just not.
Could we not move it to just Friday or Saturday? I mean, is there not a way to just, and I understand the what ifs about potential weather still, but is that a consideration? I get the whole Memorial Day thing too, but honestly, I feel like families were coming to Westfield to spend Memorial Day here because of this giant celebration. So, yeah, the seniors' families they're coming to be with them, and it was so nice that it was on Memorial Day weekend because they had some extra time to spend with them too. So I guess would you even consider something like that? Because I think just 2 days might, if people were planning to come, they're planning to stay through the weekend probably. So a whole week, I just feel like is such a huge change at this point in the game.
Sure. Other thoughts?
Unfortunately, I think we would be in the same position if we have another delay of school. So if we have another missed day, then we would be sitting here in March saying, sorry, audience, we can't do it Wednesday because now we are not at 180 days. So it's tough, and I really do feel horrible.
One of the really interesting suggestions was to have it on Sunday, which I don't know if anybody.
Sunday.
After the Thursday. Sunday Memorial Day weekend. And
that's race day.
Yeah. As soon as somebody said Sunday, I'm sad. There's a little thing going on
Yeah.
that day.
That's why I just feel like Saturday would be like, oh.
Other thoughts? Mary, did you have any thoughts?
I think we've covered them all.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve, and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, we've approved the date, the change, and I really do appreciate folks coming out. I really do. All right, next on the agenda, we have the 2017 year-end update.
So provided you with kind of the snapshot of where we ended the year with our major funds, and then as well with where our appropriation was as well. You can see some of our appropriations were overspent, but all of our fund balances were zero or higher. That's not how we want to operate moving forward. I can tell you, Joe and I have had a lot of conversations about CPF. Joe, Chris, Dr. Gray, and myself have had a lot of conversations about general fund, about really pulling our budgets back into line where they should have been in the past. So just wanted to give you a snapshot of where we've been, and then kind of brief explanation of where we're going. I don't know if there's any questions. There's nothing to actually approve.
No action. Are there any questions for Brian?
I would simply say I appreciate you taking a look at it, and I'm confident we'll continue to make improvements where need be. I mean, and all that done with the best interest of the kids in mind. I mean, you can't cut to the point where it affects them. We've got to find the other places along the fringes that we've been trying to do, so we'll keep working at that.
Yeah, and
So,
a
thank you.
big piece we're also working on, I mean, not just to focus on the cut, but it's also how can we generate revenue
Right.
where we haven't
Right.
before.
Right.
So, you know, the easy
Good
spot is
point.
to sit there and be like, oh, cut,
Right.
but it's also how can we generate dollars that we haven't looked at in other places, so.
Good point.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have resolution 2018-02. Mr. Tom Michael.
This resolution's to approve the voiding of checks that are 2 years or older in the district. It's a annual process, so all these checks would be from 2015. So there's a list of all the checks, mainly high school in the district.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2018-2 to void the outstanding checks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion about the checks? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Liability insurance, Mr. Tom Michael.
So part of what we've been looking at as we've been going through our contracts is not just, you know, how old is the contract, when's the last time it's been updated, but also how exposed are we on our end. So one of the issues that have come up looking at our liability insurance is currently our sign coverage is only for $155,000. And why that may seem like a lot, you know, if worst case scenario, a tornado came through the heart of campus, you'll take out signs at just about every building, and this is an aggregate total. So looking at, you know, just the high school, you know, digital football sign outside, what that cost would be, we didn't feel like 155 was adequate. So we asked for, you know, what would the difference be for 300,000 or $500,000 in coverage, and it's only $128 a year. So we felt like that was, you know, a drop in the bucket compared to a catastrophic issue. And then the second one is looking at cyber coverage. I'm sure if you just watch the news, you can see somebody that gets hit with ransomware, or, you know, any other issues where their files held hostage, and how can we respond to that, and currently we would be stuck with it. So looking at that, we're recommending doing $100,000 coverage, and the cost of that's basically $1,700 a year, just to help kind of, you know, tighten up our liability exposure that we have at the district and possible, you know, worst case scenarios that we have.
So this is covering both the liability.
Yeah, so
sign.
in order to do the sign coverage and the cyber coverage is an additional $1,827 in premium a year. So, and on our policy, that's like a 0.2% increase, is all it would be.
Great, thank you. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommended increases in insurance coverage.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? I can tell you, I was curious, do we have, so the fact that we're looking at all these policies, I know that there was a hospital on the west side that got a cyber attack and actually paid the ransom.
Yeah.
Do we have a policy for what we do if we get,
State Board of Accounts will tell you never to pay it.
right? That's probably smart.
Yeah, I think the issue is, and Dan can speak, Dan Burdick can speak to this a lot more. A lot of it for us is making sure we have a backup on file at all times.
Okay.
That if something were to happen, you could close down and move to your backup. What this policy specifically will do though is basically the insurance company would step in, and they wouldn't pay the ransom, but they would pay for the mitigation of bringing everything back online on the back end of it, so.
Okay, so it doesn't, it pays the ransom or may not, may or may not?
It does not. It is normally their policy is not going to pay the ransom, but they will help you on the back end of, you know, you might have to go out and get a specialist to come in and try to decrypt your files for
So
you.
this is remediation.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but they will cover that cost.
That's smarter, because if they knew that we passed this policy, then. Okay.
Yeah, the ransom just went up to
That's
$100,000.
right. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next to our Mr. Tom Michael as well.
All right, there's an overnight field trip for robotics in March up to Mishawaka, Indiana at Penn High School for a robotics competition. I ask that you approve that.
you. Chair will entertain a motion on the trip.
Make a motion to approve the WHS Shamrock Robotics First Robotics Competition overnight field trip as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
All right. Donations and grants, we had 5 different donations this month. If you have any questions about them, they're here to answer.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion for donations and grants.
Move to accept the donations and grants as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. One piece of discussion that I used to ask was whether or not we said thank you when we got these things in a formal way, and I'm assuming that we do.
Yeah, so at a building level, a lot of times is where the interaction's occurring. And they'll have a one-on-one conversation, and it's usually always made sure they're thanked. I can tell you, those that have called the district level, most of the time it starts and ends with a phone call. So we are always having that personal conversation with them.
That's great. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. That is the end of the formal agenda. This is where we normally have our opportunity for folks to speak. If anyone is interested in speaking, please fill out a card and come forward. Okay. Then our next meeting is March 13th, 2018, 7 p.m. We'll be right back here for our regular board meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
She wrote a